Hey, Charlie Specht here, appearing live outside of the federal courthouse in downtown Buffalo. This is a day I really never thought I would see. Finally, someone in the Diocese of Buffalo abuse scandal dragging on for 7+ years here is going to prison, or at least federal custody right now. Earlier this morning, I was in the courthouse as Father Jeffrey Nowak, currently a priest in the Diocese of Buffalo on administrative leave, was brought into court, and he was shackled. He had chains around his waist and handcuffs around his wrists. This is the first time we've seen a priest brought into court on criminal charges, and I'm going to read you a few of the charges here. So, uh, Nowak appeared in a wrinkled red T-shirt. He looked pretty unkempt, as if he had not showered. This was his initial appearance before a federal judge. The government moved for detention, saying that he was a flight risk and a danger to the community based on these charges. And the judge granted that motion by the government. So Nowak was not released. Um, he was represented by a public defender today, public defender who had told the judge that he had not even had time to meet with his client yet. Uh, Assistant U.S. Attorney, Federal Prosecutor Aaron Mango, he went through the different counts here in front of court. 1 second here, it's a little loud. Um, the count one of the child pornography possession charges carries a term of 5 to 20 years in prison. Count two of those possession charges carries a count of between 10 to 20 years in prison. Mango said that was because those images that police found on his computer and devices uh, contained videos and images of prepubescent minors. Pretty gross stuff here we're talking about. My article that was posted online this morning gets into some of the really kind of sick details of that. Some of it I didn't even want to put into writing, but we did uh, post the criminal complaint if you want to see that. So those charges would carry between 15 to 40 years total in prison. This priest, Jeffrey Nowak, is now facing. Now, it is important that he could face less because the prosecutor said there are no mandatory minimums for this sort of thing. So it's up to the judge who ultimately rules on this what he gets. We know that Buffalo Diocese has deep connections in the Buffalo legal community. This is a city which, frankly, this is my opinion here, this is a very corrupt system of law enforcement and the judiciary in Buffalo. I've seen it firsthand with police and prosecutors trying to come after me and other reporters when we report on these kind of things like police corruption. And I should say that historically, the Buffalo Diocese has had a relationship that can only be described as very deferential, very cozy with the Erie County District Attorney's Office, which investigated Father Nowak but brought no charges. It's notable that these charges came only after law enforcement in Scotland and New Zealand, interestingly, came forward and supplied this information to the FBI here. The FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office moved in and they arrested Nowak, handcuffed him yesterday during a raid at what appeared to be his father's home in Cheektowaga, although I should note that the complaint states that he did access some materials from Bishop Head residence, which is a kind of a treatment center or hiding place for accused priests. That's on Rosary Ave in Lackawanna. It's right on the city line of Lackawanna and South Buffalo, Dorrance Avenue, my old neighborhood. And so people should be aware that this is where they're keeping these kind of individuals. Let me see here. Another thing that I want to go through here is that we heard from Father Richard Biernat, who was the first person to bring the name Jeffrey Nowak to light. Let me just run you through here what our initial stories in 2019 showed that Father Richard secretly recorded then Bishop Richard Malone attempting to cover up misconduct by Father Nowak. Now, Father Nowak was known as a serial blackmailer. He was a part of, allegedly, of a group of priests who were then at Christ the King Seminary. The nickname for them was the Taliban. They would go around and try to collect blackmail on other seminarians when they would go into East Aurora. would try to, really get any dirt, sexual dirt on them. And Father Richard said that they really terrorized a bunch of seminarians. Seminary, of course, has since been closed in Buffalo. But this is something that Father Jeff Nowak, he was ordained as a priest less than 10 years ago, and he came to light when Father Richard first recorded Bishop Malone trying to cover up that situation. Now, Nowak, the diocese now, of course, is trying to distance itself from Nowak, but and they said they put him on something called permanent leave, which is not an actual thing. I don't know if they're just making that up, but there's administrative leave. I'm going to reach out to the diocese and ask for clarification on that. Administrative leave since 2019, which, as far as I know, means he was still being paid by Catholics in Buffalo in 2019, since 2019, while he's accessing and looking at child pornography. One of the things that Father Richard brought up in his comments to reporters after the appearance was that the priest monitoring program that the diocese supposedly has in place under the agreement with the New York State Attorney General, well, that obviously didn't work because this guy is on administrative leave and he's looking at child porn from a Diocese of Buffalo computer. So that obviously is something that that is not working. He asked directly. He said, "I would like to ask the New York State Attorney General, Tish James, what should this agreement with the Diocese of Buffalo, this settlement agreement, should that not be revisited now? Because if this can happen, then obviously that agreement isn't worth a whole lot." That agreement was described as a landmark agreement by the Attorney General, but let's be honest, it resulted in no criminal charges for any priests. Prosecutors at the state level in New York State have been much less aggressive than in other states like the state of Michigan. Part of that is probably because the laws are written differently as far as criminal versus civil jurisdiction from the Attorney General. But also, let's be honest, Diocese of Buffalo, through its attorney Terry Connors and others, continues to have large political influence in this community, and really depended on that for years until this scandal all broke 7 years ago. So Father Nowak now has been remanded to federal custody. He now will undergo. Let's see. They said that he will undergo an interview today. The feds have not had a chance to formally interview him, but, and this is key, it said that they did record an interview at his house with him when they raided that house, when they executed that search warrant. They have a written statement of his guilt, of him saying he accessed this. That doesn't bode well for him. Something like 95 or 99% of cases, federal charges, they end up pleading guilty to those charges. And I want to read here for you a few of the things as far as those admissions that were referenced in federal court today. This is right from the criminal complaint. It says Nowak stated that he accessed child pornography sometimes as frequently as weekly to masturbate, multiple times daily. And this is the thing that truly blows my mind. He acknowledged that he last viewed child pornography as early as the morning of July 8th, 2026. That's 2 days ago, as the FBI was arriving at his residence. So we're talking about being literally caught in the act by the FBI looking at child pornography. I want to state one thing here. You've probably heard this term child pornography versus child sex abuse images. It is considered now a best practice in journalism to not use the term child pornography, because pornography implies some sort of consent. And of course, these are children. They can't consent. They're victims of a horrific crime here. So reporters now will use the term child sex abuse images. That is considered best practices. However, this is where it gets confusing. Child pornography is still the statute in the federal law books. So they need to use that term when they're describing this. If they talk to federal lawmakers, they could get that changed. But as of now, they need to use the term child pornography because those are the way the laws are written, and they have not since been changed by Congress. I want to go on here, and it says here that Nowak admitted that he has a sexual preference of minor boys as young as toddlers. Disgusting. Nowak acknowledged viewing child pornography depicting infants being subjected to various sex acts, including oral, vaginal, and anal penetration. Again, this is gross stuff. Of course, Father Nowak maintains presumption of innocence here, and the diocese went out of its way when they posted the list of priests on administrative leave to say that there's no presumption of guilt or innocence, but the evidence is overwhelming here, and would not be surprised to see him plead guilty to these. He does have a public defender. There were a couple other attorney-looking kind of figures in the background today, so I wouldn't be surprised if he does, get rep by somebody else. The handful of criminal defense attorneys that usually represent the bad guys in Buffalo, and wouldn't be surprised if one of them, if he did get some money to pay for this defense. Hopefully, the Diocese of Buffalo, and by that I mean Catholic parishioners, are not paying for that sort of high price defense. But as of now, he has a public defender. This is pretty shocking news. It's the first time someone in the Diocese of Buffalo has been handcuffed and charged. The district attorney's office in Erie County historically has been extremely close to the Diocese of Buffalo, very cozy, and shockingly, despite incredible amount of evidence and even talk of shredding documents that I got in writing and I posted online for the diocese attorneys and administrators in the diocese. Shockingly, the district attorney's office, to our knowledge, has never even attempted to get a search warrant to search the Diocese of Buffalo. So thankfully, the feds were up to the task here, and the feds came in and they arrested this man who was, really masquerading as a Catholic priest. And he's being treated today as a common criminal. And as Father Richard said, he has really appeared today as a broken man. The U.S. Attorney, Michael DiGiacomo, is having a news conference in a few minutes. I'm going to get going because I need to get to that, but I'm going to have full updates on this for you throughout the week. Thanks for joining me.